Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. We put this together as kind of a tool to help companies like yourself get training, get a little bit more familiar with our company, let us get familiar with your company on how we can do things better. We're all kind of in an unusual situation right now, and our time is probably of the essence, but we're hoping to get you guys educated. From the Ratterman side, you may not know this about our company, but there are a lot of different segments to the company. Everyone knows this from our giant catalog, but we do have some different segments as far as Ratterman goes. Today, we're going to be doing some cryogenic training from the cryogenic side, and it's kind of a separate division from the industrial gas side. We also have a lot of other technical support arms as far as the CO2 and beverage side of our business. We have the hose and lead side of our business. We have a vaporizer side, and trailers, tanks, manifolds. These are all different components of our company that you may not reach out to. A lot of times you get our customer service department and you're just familiar with the people online that you speak to, but we have a lot of technical people that you can reach out to, that can reach out to your people as well. My side is the cryogenic side. We're going to be doing some troubleshooting and valve selection. I kind of put the training together just based off of, just entry-level kind of stuff, just knowing about valves, what to pick in the cryogenic world. We're probably going to do some other training down the road that can be a little bit more technical as far as, assembling valves, disassembling valves, how valves should be entered into the system, things like that. But this would be a good start to get everyone up and going. So thank you all for being here, and we'll go ahead and get started. Yeah, go ahead and go to the first slide there. One of the first things I just wanted to start off with is just cryogenic valve types. As you call into our company, or as you're looking for upgrading your systems, there's all kinds of different valves in the industry as far as cryogenic and gas valves. One of the biggest questions you're going to ask yourself before contacting a contractor or contacting Ratterman, am I looking for a cryogenic valve or a gas valve? What I put here together is just different types of valve selections and why we pick those valves and for what reasons we would pick those valves, and kind of the benefits of those particular valves. Some of our most common valves in the industry are our ball valves. Ratterman has a full list of ball valves. They're a bubble tight shutoff valve. They're a quarter turn valve, easy to turn on and off. The handle is usually the indicator of flow. Flow is a huge issue with ball valves. You have to make sure that that valve is in the right way. Most of our leaks in our ball valves occur because the valves are installed backwards. I can't tell you how many times I get that call a day that my cryogenic ball valve is leaking, and most of the time it's just the direction of which you put it in. There is particular ways to install that, and we'll kind of go into that a little bit later on. They're a very compact design. They're easy and inexpensive to actuate. One of the reasons because of that is it's a quarter turn valve. It's not a linear style valve. When you're dealing with a linear style valve, you're basically going up and down, and you have to count those turn radiuses as that valve goes up and down. A little bit more difficult to automate, but we've got a full automation department. We can do that for you. We're great at sizing valves from torque ratings, pressure ratings, and system needs. So give us a call anytime you may need that. Ball valves have a superior stem seal in most cases. I know our valves do in particular, but they have a Belleville Washford stem seal in them that incorporates some graphite just in case you have any fire situations. And a lot of times we do not have any issues with the top portions of our valve. They're easy to maintain, very easy to service. You can pull a ball valve out of the line and replace the seats in them. So in general, a ball valve can be used for a lot of different applications. If a person calls me and says, what do I recommend? It's really application driven, to be honest with you. But a ball valve will give you a high CV factor, give you a lot of flow. And a lot of times, in most cases, especially for delivering product, it's a fantastic choice. We also have a full range of gate valves as well. I don't know if you guys are familiar with gate valves or see a lot of these in the industry. They're mainly focused on kind of the trailer side of our business. You see a lot of gate valves for on trailers, and this is usually because of full flow. If you look at figure 6, 5, and 4, that's our standard Hiroshi brand of gate valves that we offer. It incorporates a wedge that you see in figure 4. It basically is a linear movement, basically goes up and down within the valve body. And that is your sealing face, the black elastomer that actually seals up against the body. It's a fantastic valve. They're very inexpensive. They're a little bit more bulky than your standard valves, why a lot of people don't use them, and they're extremely heavy. My personal opinion about a gate valve, they're really not a 100% bubble tight valve. If you're looking for something that you definitely want shut off completely, it's definitely not the right way to go. There is a little bit of allowable leakage, and when I say allowable leakage, it's counted possibly in bubbles downstream of the valve. But it is good for pump applications. If you guys have any cryogenic pumps and you need that full flow going to the pumps, it's fantastic. And also any kind of plant applications, I'd highly recommend a gate valve. Easy to maintain, very difficult to repair if you do not follow the instructions. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit later on in the presentation. Globe valves, our most common valve that we sell. You see these day in and day out. I can't even tell you, from even cryogenic to short stem, long stem, you probably see these on your liquid cylinders. The nickname for some of these valves is an umbrella valve on your liquid cylinders. This is a very common valve. You get extremely tight shutoff. They do unfortunately have a bad CV factor, but in most of the applications in which they're going, you don't really need that. You know, they're designed to do what they were put in there for, is to open and close flow. They're a multi-turn valve, inexpensive to operate. Sometimes not, depending on the day or the mood that I'm in. It's kind of depends how hard they are to automate, but they can be automated for sure. We can definitely do that in our department. They sometimes are a large design, you know, from a functionality standpoint. If you look at figure 3, and I think that's 2 and 1, I'm kind of not seeing those figure numbers, but in those 3 pictures, that's our standard Hiroshi product line. They come in an extended stem and also a short stem version. You know, something to remember, and you see this a lot in the industry, when you see an extended stem valve and a short stem valve, and if they're both in cryogenic service, a lot of our valves are rated for cryogenic service, -320. An extended stem valve is a valve that you would put into a line that's basically seeing cryogenic liquid on a regular basis. You want that extension in there basically for safety from the packing, and also safety possibly from your users standpoint. The valve will start to ice up. That liquid cryo will make its way through that heat transfer tube and make its way to the top of the valve. So if you have an application where you're turning it on and turning it off on a regular basis, highly recommend you go with that extended stem valve versus a short stem valve. But like I said, we see our short stem valves on our liquid dewars all the time, and they do what they need to do from that standpoint. It's a flat seated valve, very easy to work on, to be honest with you. Take them out and replace the seats and you're good to go. So it's an idea of those 3 types of valves. Mary, if you want to move to the next. I'm sorry for calling you Mary there. I know you're
totally okay. I just realized I forgot to mention, if anyone has questions or what have you, you can also use the chat area, and then afterward we'll also do questions. So if you want to take advantage of that, please do. And I muted everyone on here, so in case you're wondering what happened there. Just forgot to make those announcements. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Molly. Appreciate it. Moving on to cryogenic butterfly valves, we don't see these very often in our side of the business. I say that coming from y'all's, from what you guys do. These are usually on our air separation plants. We do a lot of cryogenic butterfly valves. They're short face-to-face. They're very easy to install. They're very compact. They're lightweight. A lot of times even really inexpensive valves, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. You know, you're going to get a valve that has basically a floating butterfly or floating disc in the middle, and a lot of times that can usually generate a lot of noise. There's a lot of turbulence that can sometimes happen, but they're usually designed to go in our air separation plants for just full flow, and we see those a lot there. We also see these on our turbo expanders. You get into some of the cryogenic plants and actually see some of the air being brought in and brought into its liquefied state. You see a lot of butterfly valves in applications very similar to that. We have a full range of these valves. These actually go all the way up to 24-inch. Not sure if anybody's looking for a 24-inch butterfly valve, but if you are, we can definitely make one. They're just another style valve that we see in the industry quite a bit, and wanted to bring that up. Well, you can go to the next slide. Cryogenic relief valves. Hopefully we see these on a regular basis. They're very common in our industry for safety reasons. Starting from figure 1, probably the most common valve we see on a regular basis. There are 2 styles of this valve. There is our standard block line thermal safety valve that is put on most of our systems, basically to relieve pressure. Anytime there may be any cryogen that may be stuck in a line, we use these to relieve pressure off those lines. This valve in particular is a liquid cylinder valve. It's on your liquid dewars, and it's a very unique relief valve because it's actually acts more like a back pressure regulator. And so I'm just going to kind of give you an example. If you guys are ever in the plant or at a customer's facility and you see these valves opening or starting to kind of chirp on you a little bit, they're actually designed to do that. And they're not leaking. A lot of calls that I get is saying, hey, my relief valve is leaking. And I hate to debunk that, but that's kind of what they were designed to do. Back about 8 years ago, most of the pressure relief valves that we had on our liquid cylinders were just a standard thermal style relief valve. And what you kind of get with that is what I call the shotgun effect. And the shotgun effect is the easiest way to describe it is a call I got one time from Matheson Trigas, saying that a little old lady was concerned that people were shooting at their liquid cylinder on the side of the road. And I can understand why she would say that, because back in the days, a lot of these valves, when they went off, it sounded like a shotgun. These valves are actually designed to relieve the continuing state of evaporation in your liquid cylinders, and that's what they're designed to do. So if you guys ever have any questions on these, especially low pressure applications, we sometimes run into some problems with a lot of dentists, places like that with these valves. I can give you some recommendations on how to kind of tweak the valve to make it work right. A lot of times that's with your regulators, but I'll be happy to help anybody fix any of those low pressure applications with some of these valves. Figure 2 is our ASME coated valve, most common valve in the industry on our bulk tanks, designed to relieve pressure on the tanks. They're a full flow, high flow valve. This particular one's made by Hiroshi. You probably see a lot of these on the tanks. They're basically sit atop of what we call a cryo tree or a diverter valve, and it's basically the safety system for your tank. We also offer a high pressure relief valve. We got a lot of different products that we have for that. Figure 3 is just one of those lines. They go all the way from 2 PSI all the way up to 2400 PSI, one of our very common valves, both for gas and liquid. When we jump up from that, we do go into a different style valve, and we can go all the way up to, I've gone up to 6,000 PSI in this business. I usually don't see much more than that, but if you need to go higher, we can go higher. So another thing we can do. Flange relief valves, we have those as well. A lot of more of our plant side, we see the flange relief valves, but we have a full line of flange valves. And off to the right, figure 4 is something new and exciting as we're kind of getting into this helium market. If you guys are getting any helium dewars, this is a new style relief valve that was developed over the last 3 or 4 years. And basically what it is, it was designed not to have any pressure fluctuations based off of atmospheric pressure. So if you guys have a particular set pressure, say it's 14.8 that you need on your dewars, it doesn't matter where we put these. If we put them in Colorado, if we put them all the way down here at sea level in Houston, Texas, atmospheric pressure is not going to give you back pressure on the valve, and you will always get that exact pressure that you're looking for. And we stock and sell these all over the world right now. Fantastic design. Marie, if you can go to the next slide. The CRB. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. I just wanted to bring this to your attention. It's one of my favorite relief valves. I can tell you kind of a quick story about this valve. I was out with one of the head engineers for one of the major gas companies, and they, a service tech took us out on kind of a field trip for 2 days to kind of see what it was like in the life of a service technician. One of the first places we went to, we decided to change out the block line safeties on a bulk tank. We got there, service tech got us out of the car, shut off a couple valves, and he told us to get back in his truck. After about an hour and a half sitting there, we were like, why are we still sitting here? He said, well, because we have to let these things pop off so I can replace them. I said, well, there's got to be an easier way. He said, oh, absolutely. So we get out of the car, he goes to the first valve, and he starts to unthread the relief valve. And as he did that, the pressure floated by the thread, and he was able to remove that. Both him and I said, you know what, that looks like the most unsafe practice on the planet. There's got to be an easier way to do this. So we came up with a modified style of our pressure reliefs. It's called a CRB. We stock these valves, and if you look to the right, we incorporated a bleed port into these. It's basically a hex nut that's put into the side of the valve. Any service tech can come up to this, basically unthread that bleed port and relieve the line before they disinstall, pull these out of service. We're using these all over the country right now, have them on a lot of tanks, been out in the field for over 10 years now. It's just one of our hidden gems that we don't usually see a lot of movement on because they're not very well known in the industry, but have thousands in stock. Be happy to get you more information if you'd like to see something on the CRB series. Molly, can you go to the next slide? So cryogenic burst disc, I put this in here because, you know, a lot of times I get a lot of calls on a regular basis for bulk tanks where their burst discs have went off. These burst discs they're really a secondary relief valve. They're commonly not supposed to go off on your tanks, but when they do, unfortunately, they are a throwaway item. There's no way to reset these. You will have to replace these. And when you do that, I just kind of wanted to give you some thoughts here when you go to replace these. There's a maximum allowed working pressure of each vessel that you guys have on your facility and at your customers. Most of these are 250 PSI. I use that as an example on this presentation because that's pretty much the most common set pressure that we see. The CGA actually calls out that these secondary relief valves have to be 1.5 times that particular pressure. So in this case, 250 times 1.5, you really want these set at 375. The key thing to remember is 375 is the highest that you can have these set at. If you guys have an inspector come out and they're higher than 375, they're really going to get on your case and make you replace these. Might even fine you for it. I just put that into place because people buy secondary relief valves at too high and too low pressures all the time. The rule of thumb, and I'm just going to say this from a low side, there's really not anything mandated on the low side, but from doing this long enough and talking to different engineers, 1.3 is kind of the low end. So you know, if you want to multiply your working pressure by 250, around 1.3, that's your low end. That's really the low side that you want to be. If you go any bit lower than that, you could just be generating some trouble in between the differential of your relief valve and your burst disc, and they could open up prematurely. So give us a call though. We'll be happy to size these for you. I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention, so hopefully you can take some of this with you down the road and hopefully retain some of this information. Hey, Molly, you can go to the next slide. We also offer a wide range of cryogenic and gas regulators. A lot of people don't think of Ratterman as a regulator facility, but outside of our liquid dewars, we have a wide range of products. All your bulk tanks, your separated pressure builders, and your economizer, we stock hundreds of these regulators. We also have the combination regulators that incorporate the economizer. We both have these from the small sizes all the way up to the larger sizes. We also do a gas regulator as well. The product line that you see in here, it's the third one from the left. That's our Generant product line. It's a fantastic regulator. It's a balanced regulator, basically meaning that if your inlet pressures are ever fluctuating on you, your discharge pressures are not going to see any kind of change whatsoever. It's so minimal, it may 0.001 of a psi. What does that do for you guys? I tell you this, I've seen many regulators at medical facilities, and if there's a pressure fluctuation and that downstream pressure fluctuates too much, some of your alarms will go off, and that's what causes your service techs to have to go out and dismantle some of those alarms. So great regulator to use, been using them on manifolds for a long time. If you guys ever want to do an upgrade, we have them in stock, and I'll kind of work you through how to do that. Go to the next slide, Molly. Cryogenic ball valves and automation. A lot of people don't think of us as a big ball valve house, but we are. We're strictly focused on CO2 and cryogenics. We have 1/4 inch all the way through 8-inch valves in stock, both pneumatic and electric as well. If you guys need us to size these, we can put the automation on there for you. Solenoids, limit switches, whatever you're looking for, we can do these in-house and ship them out to you the same day. From the CO2 side, we have carbon steel valves readily available. We'll drill the balls for you and get those vented for CO2, and we can also ship those out the same day. So bring this to your attention, just because a lot of people don't see us for ball valves, but it's a big part of our business, and it's growing every day. Molly, you can go to the next slide. Here's a new exciting product. I only brought this on here because a lot of people are not aware of this, and I'm trying to throw this out there. So when you guys get in front of new customers, especially I say hospitals, like colleges, I've seen a lot of the space industry use these, the LNG industry use these because of just the functionality of this. What this is an electric actuator, which we've seen in the past. What's unique about this actuator is that it incorporates a spring built into the actuator, and it will fail closed. A lot of times people think of electric actuators, unfortunately, when the power goes off, they're stuck where they're at. So they don't go to a fail closed or a fail open position. These actuators actually do that. They were designed in Germany. They've been out in the industry for at least 8 years in the cryo world, and I have not had one problem. They are rock solid products. They work very well. Very unique from an electricity standpoint. They have a universal connection on them that will actually utilize 24, 120, or 240 volt. They have 3 stopping points. You have a start, stop, and somewhere in the middle, wherever you want to put that. We can also add a potentiometer into these, and we can also have them add a positioner as well, where you can stop these anywhere from 4 to 20 milliamps, so you can have a throttling application as well for unique customer applications. So very exciting product line, something that we stock, something that we have available, and just wanted to kind of bring it to your attention. Pretty neat device that you can offer your customers. Molly, you can go to the next slide. Bulk tank parts, you know, I know a lot of us in the field see our bulk tanks come in fully loaded with all the components. Ratterman is basically the sole supplier of all of these components to all your OEMs, you know, be it from the small guys, Elite, CTR, Westmore, any of these companies that are actually building tanks out in the field. We also supply these to the bigger OEMs as well. Chart, different people like that. We have the Hiroshi product line mainly in our inventory. We also offer some Rego parts. But we're basically the people that are supplying all the OEMs with all these parts. On the left is our top and bottom fill, main fill assembly. You're going to start seeing a lot more of the stainless configuration. I know in the past we've always used the brass. It was the most common to use back then from a cost standpoint, I guess, theoretically. And with the metal markets nowadays and how stainless is being utilized, there's a very minimal cost difference between a stainless valve and a brass valve. So a lot of the new tanks you're going to be seeing come in are going to be mainly stainless steel. Aesthetically, they look fantastic. They hold up well over time. They don't kind of have that browning effect that happens with copper and brass. And these are going to be something you see quite a bit of. So far right is our diverter valve. This is, for your ASME and secondary relief valves. Ratterman has hundreds of these in stock, and you guys can come to us for these anytime you want. Molly, you can go to the next slide. Trailer valves. I don't know if most people know, but every cryogenic trailer on the road is basically in the back part of that cab. Everything in there is offered by Ratterman. This is, all the way to that right valve you see, which is our fire safety valve, which is a gate valve with basically a pneumatic bladder that sits on top of it. That's your main fire safety valve that'll go off in case of an emergency. But everything in the back end of a trailer, your globes, your gates, your flow control devices, be it, a sponsler, turbine meters, all these devices are supplied by Ratterman to the major OEMs. What does that do for you guys? If you guys ever have a problem with the trailer and there's a component that you'd like replaced and you have a technical person that can get out and do that, please give us a call. We have a service side that will work you through how to do this, how to replace these components. And you don't have to drive it to your local service department if you don't feel you have to. We can help you work through how to replace some of these components. So I want to bring that to your attention because a lot of people don't think of us as the trailer guys, but that's a big part of our business. So kind of wanted to let you guys know that. Molly, you can go to the next slide. Just wanted to bring up some quick repair points. I didn't know who was going to be on the training today. I was kind of originally thinking I was going to do kind of a training program based off repairing valves. And I was told that might get quite boring. So if you guys ever want me to do any kind of repair training on how to repair globes, gates, ball valves, anything like that, please feel free to email or contact me. I'll put together a training for your guys to kind of take you through how to do those types of repairs. But just a few quick points here. Let's say ball valves. Like I said earlier, it's very super critical that we install these valves with the relief hole upstream of the liquid. Anytime you install a ball valve, you have to make sure that you have some type of relief port built into that ball. Not to come across as a bomb builder, but if you don't, the valve will explode. As that cryogen sits within that ball, it wants to get somewhere, and if it doesn't have a place to escape, the valve will pop open on you. So it's very critical that you have that hole in there. If you're ever installing these, make sure that you close the valve, look for that hole, and make sure that it's upstream of the liquid flow. The indicator, if you end up installing this thing and you have product leaking downstream of the valve and you had that hole in there, it was installed the wrong way, 99.9% of the time. So something to always keep in mind. Stem leaks always happen. I'm just going to kind of give you a little rule of thumb. Stem leaks happen in valves quite often. The one key thing that people always make a mistake on is you have to bring that particular valve back to its ambient temperature. And the reason for that is, the elastomers at the top portion of that valve have a proper shape. They were put in by the manufacturer. They have a shape that they were in. When they're under cold cryogenic temperatures, they tend to misform and misshape within the valve. If you go out to a valve and you try to lock down on that nut and try to basically stop the leak, there's a very strong possibility you could even make it worse. The best thing to do is to have one of the guys come out with a pressure washer. They can pressure wash the valve. You can also just try to figure out some way to heat it up, turn off the valve, let it heat up for a couple of days, tighten it down, and that normally will take that leak and put it to a stop. Under any other case, you may have to call us, get a new repair kit for it, but I kind of give you that rule of thumb because a lot of people forget to bring that temperature back down to its normal state so you guys can repair those. Gate valves, always make sure that wedge is installed the proper direction. I can't tell you how many times I've seen those installed the wrong way, and it will ruin the wedge, and that valve will never, ever operate right again. Just something to keep an eye on. We have full instructions on how to do that. Feel free to reach out to us if you need any help. Strainers, if you don't have them, they're great to have. Can't tell you how many valves I've come back with just some particulate, Teflon, you name it. Strainer will save you. The only unfortunate thing is you do have to open them up and check them on a maybe an annual basis, I would say, depending on your system. But strainers are great for your system to have in, but make sure you clean them out because you're definitely going to have some flow issues if you don't. Valve bodies, I can't reiterate. There's service techs that will disagree with me. There's manufacturers that will disagree with me, but always install new gaskets on these. That's the best way to ensure you're not going to get a leak. I have service techs call me all the time saying I've put that gasket in 8 times and it works just fine, and that's great. I totally agree with that, but it's just that one day that you need that valve up and running that it's not leaking that I always recommend to have a clean new set of gaskets. Also make sure they're installed in the proper orientation. Well, if you want to go to the next slide, I think this next slide actually just has some pictures of some different valves that we kind of had some of these same issues with. They're
Lance, I just wanted to point out, because I know your phone is off during this, it's about 10:33 right now, so just
okay,
just
perfect.
Yeah.
All right, I'll move along real quickly. It's just a few pictures of a few different things that damaged the gate valve. Also in the middle, that's just a leaking ball valve. You got to put those gaskets in the right way. And on the far right, that's that upstream relief hole that I was referring to. Always make sure that that's upstream of the valve. You want to go to the next slide? I brought this up to everyone's attention. We have done something very different at Ratterman that no one else in the industry so far that I've seen has done in the cryo world. I've put together a full list of IOM manuals that are a lot different than what you're used to seeing. It's not a bunch of words on a page. I went ahead and basically took each one of our valves. I took pictures of each process that, from the top of the valve all the way to the bottom of the valve, and gave basically a pictorial flow chart of how to repair a valve. I've got these on file. They are actually going out with every valve now, but unfortunately, if you have a tank and they've been installed, you do not have that IOM. Please contact me. Here's my information. This will show your service techs exactly how to open up the nuts, how to torque them. I have torque values on there, how to replace the seats. I even have some little tricks as well to get these things open and closed properly. So please feel free to reach out to me for any of these IOM manuals. I've got them readily available and they're fantastic. Molly, if you want to go to the next slide. And just to let you know, I don't know if you guys even have our catalog. Ratterman has split the division into our cryogenic side. We have a full cryogenic catalog that's just focused on our cryogenic side. I've got plenty of these in stock. Be happy to send them out to anybody in your company. It's a great user tool to help you guys out. And also on the left there, something new that we put together. This is our installer easy reference guide. I went out to 100 different service techs and basically asked each one of them to tell me if you guys had your wish list of taking our giant catalog and condensing it down to one easy to read little user manual, what would that be? And that's what we've done here. I have these readily available, and we'll send them out to whoever you need. So just let me know.